Good morning. I'm Raquel Saiz, the Strategy Director of the Spanish Bioindustry Association. It's a pleasure for us to give voice to the technology sector today, and especially to bioeconomy companies in this investment. Now, more than ever, with the global coronavirus crisis as a backdrop, it is time, as the Commission says, to repair and protect for the next generation. The European Green Deal is now the new EU growth strategy, and the Sustainable Development Goals are the new universal call to action, also for our sector, with a global and transformative vision. And of course, in this vision, bioeconomy will have a key role to play in accelerating the green transition. However, only by boosting green investment, Europe can harness full potential of bioeconomy. We know that the best way for this to happen is to build bridges, meeting spaces for researchers, innovators, companies, and investors. That's why AseBio is participating in Horizon 2020 BioVoices and BioBridges projects, which precisely aim to bring together public sector, private companies, investors, and society in order to boost bioeconomy in Europe. And this is why we are here today. We would like to debate and discuss about the challenges of bioeconomy in Europe and how companies, science, investors can work together so that European society can benefit the most from the new solutions offered by bioeconomy. The session will take place in 3 blocks. First, we will have presentation from BioVoices and the EU Commission. In the second block, we will have a roundtable. And the third one, we will have an interactive block. You can also join the conversation on Twitter using the hashtag #GreenRecovery. Finally, I would like to thank everybody who is attending this session, especially for the European Commission, who is here with us today. And now I will give the floor to Chiara Pocarreta, Head of Projects and the Agency for the Promotion of European Research in Italy, and Coordinator of BioVoices project. Chiara?
Working in APRE, Agency for the Promotion of European Research, located in Rome, Italy. It's a research no-profit agency. Almost all the Italian stakeholders active in research and innovation are our members. We have more than 130 members supporting our agency. I have some PowerPoint to present briefly BioVoices that APRE and myself with my team we are coordinating. It's a project funded by Horizon 2020, started already 2.5 years ago. So if you can go next slide. Okay, this is APRE. So you can visit our website, apre.it. Next slide. Thank you. So BioVoices started the 1st of January in 2018 and will close at the end of March 2021. During these 2.5 years, we have worked in order to hear voices, as the acronym of the project is said, BioVoices. Hear voices around Europe from more than 10 countries, I would say from 13 countries in Europe, to understand the challenges, the opportunities and ideas from the different stakeholders in order to enhance the bio-based product. BioVoices is especially focused on the promotion of the new bio-based products. BioVoices have organized several events around Europe. The said mobilization and mutual learning workshops in order to, as I told you, collect different voices. As you can see from this slide, we have a very active activity on social media. Today we have more than 6,000 followers around Europe. We have organized several activities at regional level in order to support the regions in enhancing their bioeconomy strategies. In particular, BioVoices funded the European Bioeconomy Network, the network of bioeconomy projects, especially coordination and support action, funded in Horizon 2020 about bioeconomy and the awareness and communication and education of bio-based bioeconomy. This network is very important today also because in 2018 entered in the updated bioeconomy strategy. Next slide. Thank you. At the beginning of the project, with the support of especially one of our partners, Wageningen University, we have set up the 12 challenges that are important to overcome in order to support the market uptake of the bio-based products. And based on these challenges, we have organized by today more than 70 mobilization and mutual learning workshops, collecting, as I already said, voices from business, research, policymakers, and citizens and association of civil society. So all these voices will go in a document that we are preparing now, the policy briefs that will be sent to the European Commission with our suggestion and our recommendation for them. Next slide. So the opportunities in the bio-based economy are several. Many things has to be done. For us are very important the raising awareness, educate, showcase. We have done many activities about information and education in fairs and in other European and national conferences, showing what are the bio-based products. Our partner, FVE, has collected more than 300 samples from several industries, small and medium enterprises producing new bio-based product, and we go, this is something that it's really nice, and we show these products in several events. This way of education will be continued, especially in the next project that has been already funded, the, let's say, continuation of BioVoices, transition to bio, that will begin in January 2021. We also are trying to support regional initiatives through the mutual learning and trying also to facilitate the discussion among the different projects, as I told you, through the European Bioeconomy Network. Next slide. So these are a picture from physical events, something that seems to be very, very far away from us nowadays. During large-scale events, showing, as I told you, products, and one of our initiative is the BioArt Gallery, showing the different feedstock and the different bio-based products that are coming from different feedstock. The events, so stakeholder mobilization and mutual learning workshop on the right. Next slide. So these are pictures, as I told you, from this BioArt Gallery. As you can see, different location where we expose these big poster, big pictures, trying to make understandable the new sector of the bio-based economy and the bio-based products. There are different videos produced, so I really invite you to visit our website because it's rich of documents, pictures, information, videos, and especially to join our social media. Next slide. Next. Okay, thank you. Just a few words about the next online events and activities. Here, the 30th of September, there will be an event, Italian-based, so located in Rome, but virtual still, about how to support a startup and spin-off in the bio-based sector, so something that is a continuation of the event of today. The 9th of October, about policies, regulation and funding programs to boost the bioeconomy in Italy. It's again Italian located event, but if you join our BioVoices platform, you find also the events that will be organized in the future months, so also in November. Among other, BioVoices will be involved in the Global Bioeconomy Summit. Last but not least, I would like to invite you to join this survey that another project, BioBridges, is doing in order to understand the consumers' awareness on bio-based products. This survey is available in 9 languages, so please join us and let us know what do you think about the bio-based products. Next slide, and I have finished. So useful links about our website to find all our public results and all the information about bio-based products and feedstock. To subscribe to the platform, our social media channels. Next. The team, BioVoices management team, and the last slide with all the partners, very active partners of BioVoices. Next, please. Okay, all the partners that are covering 10 countries in Europe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chiara, for this presentation. It was very useful, and you are doing a great job with these two. I think they will have a key role for making economy closer to society in the next years. And now I will give the floor to Pavel Misiga. He is the head of Circular Economy Bio-Based System Unit at the European Commission. Please, Pavel.
Hello, colleagues. Good afternoon to everybody. I hope I can have my presentation on the screen. So I was asked to speak about opportunities for the bio-based industry. Could I have my presentation, please? We can start from the back, yes. Okay, very good. So to speak about opportunities of the bio-based industry in the Green Deal, I have to start to speak about the problem. Next slide, please. So the Green Deal is European policy that actually that is a response to a realization that humanity is facing an enormous problem. The problem is basically overexploitation of natural resources of our planet Earth. And on the left side of my slide, you can see part of the quite seminal work of on acceleration of economic activities and actually related environmental impacts. So you can see that approximately from 1950s, 50s, the European economy grew in very fast exponential growth, and associated with that, many natural resources were overexploited, and we see the impact in climate change, in land use changes, in biodiversity declination, etc., etc. So one important work that has been done in this respect is the work of the Swedish Environmental Institute on planetary boundaries. So this is a good representation of where we are and what problems we face. So on the right side of my slide, you can see a graphical representation of the situation. So the humanity exceeded what can be called as a safe operational space on number of issues, definitely on climate change, on biodiversity decline, on nutrients, soil nutrients flows, and we are very close on land use change and integrity of Earth ecosystems. Next slide, please. So this is a very alarming message, and the European policymakers responded recently with proposal for the European Green Deal. It's a comprehensive, holistic policy to address environmental challenges, be it climate change, be it pollution, be it biodiversity degradation, and ecosystem breakdown. But also there are concerns about long-term sustainability of agriculture and food systems, etc., etc. The climate change is perhaps the most important element of this policy, and there are many proposals related to that, greening the policy, and ultimately achieving carbon neutrality by 2050 through number of actions on energy systems, on transportation, on energy efficiency of buildings, etc. Other elements include policy on circular economy, and here I would like to mention that when we look at the problems, they are many of the problems are linked to the extraction of natural resources that are then used as feedstock for production of materials and products that we use, consume, and dispose. So, for example, when it comes to climate change, globally, about one quarter of all carbon emissions are related to material production and consumption. So this material aspects, the use, production, consumption of materials is one driver of the environmental problem that we have. Next slide, please. On this slide, we can see the material throughput through European economy. We consume about 8 gigatons of different materials, and as you can see on this slide, it's a very linear production consumption system, and majority of these materials are disposed as waste or are dissipated into environment as a non-source pollution. Only small part is recycled. This is the loop at the bottom of the picture on the left side. That about 10% or less than 10% is actually used in circular way. What is interesting to see on this that about quarter of this material throughput through European economy is bio-based. And on the right side of the picture, we can see specifically the flow chart of biological bio-based materials. So as I said, 1/4 of materials that we use are bio-based. But again, here the loop, the circularity is even smaller, and the proportion of the waste part is huge. So it is about 1/4 of biological material that we use is actually wasted. And next slide, please. And I emphasize this flow of biological materials is because there is enormous opportunity in material economy to go into bio-based materials. So a recent study of McKinsey concludes that about 60% of material needs of our human society can be satisfied by bio-based materials. And these bio-based materials, intrinsically, they are more carbon efficient than materials coming or based on fossil materials or minerals. It is because bio-based materials actually absorb carbon from the atmosphere, and also in the processing phase, bio-based materials are very often a product of biological processes based on enzymes, and they require much less energy, etc. So for many reasons, bio-based materials have better environmental performance. And if this production process is optimized for environmental performance, it can be achieved that the overall environmental impacts over the whole life cycle can be significantly reduced. So in addition to this potential environmental performance of bio-based products, there is also a huge economic opportunity. Bio-based materials, biofeedstock can be produced almost everywhere in the world. So dependence on natural resources that are produced in just certain parts of the world, etc., can be reduced, and almost everybody in the world can have access to bio-based materials. But there are also challenges in actually exploiting this potential of bio-based materials. So first of all, there are market barriers. We see that there are innovative solutions that are mature, that are economically feasible, but they are still not, I would say, markets for these materials do not always grow as we would expect. It may be also because of that we see that research and innovation in the area of bio-based materials seems to be less attractive than in other areas that build on the biological revolution. So, for example, we see very intensive research and innovation activities in the areas like pharmaceuticals, food, biocomputing, etc. So this is where companies and investors expect quick market penetration. And it's true that, for example, the time for bringing innovation in the pharmaceutical sector or food sector, it's much shorter than the time for bringing innovation in the sector of material production. There is also some risk. Some people point to the risk that relying more on bio-based materials in our economy can actually lead to the conflict with our biodiversity objectives, because it is seen that biological feedstock is mainly produced by agriculture or forestry, and people are afraid that relying on bio-based materials would mean that we turn our fields and forests into into huge plantages of monocultures, etc. But this doesn't have to be the case. But we have to take this seriously. The argument of potential competition with food production is very real, especially in short term, if we need to produce high quantities of very high quality homogeneous input to bio-based industrial processes. To deal with these opportunities, to exploit these opportunities and address the potential challenges, the European Union has adopted the EU Bioeconomy Strategy and Action Plan. So all these opportunities and problems are recognized and addressed, and an action plan has been prepared with a number of actions to actually help bioeconomy to grow, and in particular to help the sector of bio-based industry that produces bio-based materials for the whole economy in many different sectors, so that this bio-based industry can grow and achieve its potential and deliver the societal benefits it can promise. Next slide, please. On the next slide, we have an example of opportunity, for example, in processing the food waste, and this is also the answer to critics that say that bio-based industry actually poses threat to ecosystems, biodiversity, and agriculture. And the reason is that we can use a lot of alternative sources of biomass, and in particular biological waste. As I mentioned, large part of the biomass produced today is actually wasted, either in the agricultural phase or in processing phase, or as a final products are disposed. And here we can see this is a result of a recent study of our colleagues in the Joint Research Center of the European Union, where they analyze what is the potential, economic potential of processing of food waste. They found out that in Europe about 30 megatons of food waste is produced, and this has a growing tendency. So that this is, at least in short and medium term, this is a very stable and good source of biomass that can be processed in industrial facilities through different kind of bio-routes, bio-based industrial processes, into a very broad scope of useful substances, materials, and products that can be applied in pharmaceuticals or health system, in food and feed sectors, in production of materials and chemicals, textiles, construction materials, etc., etc. So the study focused on just 4 streams, 4 types of waste from processing of potatoes, oranges, olives, etc. And they discovered that there is a potential to build almost 200 biorefineries that would be perfectly economically feasible and profitable, and that investment would be paid back within 15 years. In some cases, the internal rate of return of processing such food waste was up to 9%, which is very good performance compared to many other industrial activities. And yet, this is not happening. This is not happening despite these processes produce valuable materials that have relatively high value on commodity markets, and this economic potential is not recognized. So next slide, please. This is why DG RTD, so this is Department of the European Commission that that supports research and innovation activities, especially through funding research projects. We are now working on a program how we can help bio-based industry to grow, and our objectives based on our understanding of problems is to accelerate multidisciplinary research to benefit from new scientific advances in the field of biological sciences. There are unprecedented advances and inventions in this field, but we don't see that they go into industrial material production fast enough compared to other areas. So the other pillar of our strategy is that we will try to help mature innovation to reach market sooner than it happens spontaneously. An important part of this is the de-risking of investment. I will speak about this in more detail later. And the third objective, to respond to criticism and fear that bio-based industry can actually interact with natural environment and cause degradation of ecosystems. We want to make sure that bio-based innovation meets stringent sustainability criteria and benchmarks from early conception of ideas to market applications. So what instruments do we want to use for that? So we want to use the traditional framework programs, so funding and grants to research and innovation projects. We are working at this very moment on the work program for 2021 and 2022, and we are in the process of identifying priorities for that. The second instrument is the new industrial partnership with a bio-based industry partner, the Association of Bio-based Industry, which is called the Bio-based Industry Consortium, or BIC. And we have just reached agreement that we will continue in the initiative, existing initiative called Bio-based Industry Joint Undertaking, and in the next 7 years we will have such partnership arrangement, and we will call it Circular Bio-based Europe partnership. And the third instrument that we plan to apply is different kinds of investment instruments for support of innovation, and I will speak about that in a second. Next slide, please. So the Circular Bio-based Europe partnership, it's institutional partnership. It means that it's very formalized, and all modes of operation and contribution of partners is agreed and put in a legal document, etc. So the EU is committed to put 1 billion euro into this partnership, and industry is willing to bring much more, especially in form of in-kind contribution or simply investing in projects. This partnership will support research actions, but also innovation actions, and will go up to quite a high level of technology readiness level, very close to the market, through demos and flagships. The intervention rate will vary. For low TRL research actions, it will be 100%, but for high TRL, it will be 50, 60%. Strategic priorities will be agreed with the industrial partner in form of what we call SIRA document, or Strategic Innovation and Research Agenda. So this SIRA document is currently being discussed between the European Commission and the industrial partner. The operation should start in 2021. And what is a novelty compared to the existing BBI joint undertaking is that we also plan more intensive collaboration with stakeholders who can help us to bring innovation to the market. So, for example, regional authorities or investors. So we will create certain structures, certain formations within the partnership through which we will collaborate with these deployment stakeholders. Next slide, please. Investment instruments. This is a whole scale of instruments that we created or will create to use public money for the risking of private investment. And through this, the risking of investment, we want to leverage private investment into bio-based industry. These instruments usually finance projects on the border of innovation and market application. So, for example, the first of its kind projects or market replications in innovation projects. We have experimented and plan to experiment further with different type of instruments. For example, one interesting initiative is the Circular Bioeconomy Fund that was established about a year ago, through which we provided 200 million of EU funds, and we expect that we will be able to mobilize at least between 50 and 100 million of private funds, and these funds will be invested in innovative bioeconomy projects or bio-based industry projects. If this fund is successful, and it seems that it will be successful, as we see the first good examples of investment through this fund, we may consider similar instrument at larger scale. And there will be an enormous opportunity in implementation of what is called Invest EU instrument. This is an investment tool of the European Union, and there is an innovation window specifically designated for investment in innovative projects in all possible areas. The size of this innovation window is about 11 billion euro, and a number of instruments will be created to facilitate this investment. There will be generic instruments without any profitable investment project that meets criteria of innovation will be eligible for funding. But what we are trying to ensure that there will be also at least one thematic instrument that will be specifically focused on initiatives under Green Deal. So, for example, circular economy and bioeconomy projects, where the conditions and the leverage effect for investment will be even greater than in the generic instruments. Within this InvestEU instrument, there may be some additional investment support activities like advisory services, for example, the project development assistance or policy support. So, as you can see, DG RTD and the European Commission in general recognizes an important role of bio-based industry in achieving sustainability objectives, but also in achieving the economic objectives of the European Union. And there is a huge opportunity in the COVID recovery, because as I showed just one example on certain food waste streams, there is untapped opportunity, and this kind of projects are not only profitable but are resilient, because they are based in Europe. They use domestic resources at feedstock. They use domestic, I would say, knowledge and innovation capacity, and are there are markets for these materials in Europe. So we can make through this kind of economy, this kind of projects, our economy more resilient. So with that, I would like to invite to participate in our work, both in the classical traditional research innovation activities that are funded through grants from Horizon Europe, or other other activities more or closer to the market, the financial instruments like Bioeconomy Fund, Invest EU, investment instruments to benefit from this. So please have a look at these opportunities and use it. Use it. It is for you. It is for bio-based industry, and it is also for investors that are interested in this field. With that, I would like to thank you for your attention. Next slide, please. And if you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to contact me at my email. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barbara, for your interesting presentations. We think we have a way ahead us to better understand the barriers, the challenges, and the opportunities that European has. And are really sure that bioeconomy will have a key role on that. I will like to give the floor to Robert Minskov from Pedal Consulting, who will moderate our roundtable.
Good afternoon from Slovakia. Hello. I'm very glad to have a chance to present and moderate the next session, which is about roundtable. And I hope there will be interesting discussions ahead of us. Perhaps a quick introduction and few reflections before we dive into the questions with very interesting panelists. I'd like to start sharing views saying that perhaps one of the greatest challenges and doubts when creating a bio-based company or working with bioproducts is to get access to financing and investors. Obviously, investors are an important stakeholder in and they take picture of what type of challenges are really specific and what is necessary for how attractive to businesses. I'd like to briefly introduce you to the panel. Can you still hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay, great. I'd like to introduce Iacovos Delioglanis, who will speak how to help SMEs with their investments. Iacovos is a senior advisor at QPlan International. He has more than 17 years of professional experience in providing innovation management services to research, industrial, and public organizations at EU. We also pleasure to have in the panel with us Mr. Carlos Rodriguez Villa, who's a general manager and CEO of Alga Energy. He's an economist. He has experience in business development, international sales, public relations, e-commerce, and also biotechnology. Carlos is a project director for USA Today, preparing socioeconomic and investment reports on emerging economies in Latin America. Furthermore, we have a pleasure to have with us also Bill Barber. Bill is a serial entrepreneur, impact investor, business developer, advisor, and executive coach. Bill is a member of Southern California Archangels and the Purpose Investment Network of Impact Investors. Last, but certainly not least, we have also Sergio Martinez with us, who will speak about investments in green economy and collaboration with. Sergio is at the moment a plant manager for Lafarge Holcim. I hope I didn't misspell it. Otherwise, please accept my apologies. He has been responsible for production and maintenance departments prior to becoming a plant manager. With no further ado, I'd like to open the floor and pose the first question to Iacovos Delioglanis. Perhaps starting with the question, how can we really help SMEs to access funding, and how projects like Empower Bio that you're implementing can help them? Jakobos, the floor is yours.
Hi, Robert. Thank you for the invitation. Just to make a background, let's say, information, I am here to talk about the expertise and the expected services under the Empower Bio project, which is funded by BBIJU. It started last March, and it has 40 months to go. The whole idea of the project is exactly the topic of this discussion: access to finance for bioeconomy SMEs. Obviously, the challenge is here, and we have in mind to deploy a wide range of support activities to help SMEs have access to funding. Before I say a few more things about the services and the activities that are planned, just to mention that from our current analysis on the funding opportunities, both in the public and private sector, this means programs at the EU or national level, and the private landscape, venture capitals, business angels, corporate financing, and all these several other opportunities, highlights one thing. It's a chaotic situation. There are plenty of opportunities, but a single SME is not even easy to follow. This being said, you need to go through intermediaries, through supporters, through clusters, for example, at regional or national level, to find out all this information. It's not easy to spot the right program, and then, of course, to take the next step and contact potential investor or apply for the program. This means that you need help. And this is something the Empower Bio is aiming to do. Will reach directly and indirectly SMEs. This means that we'll go through clusters trying to equip the members, the trainers of the clusters about the whole process and how to help their members to pitch their idea towards investors. Then, of course, we'll organize training activities for SMEs themselves, help them in practice to improve their pitching skills, and as a third step, bring them into contact with actual investors. So these are the three pillars that Empower Bio will work on. Help the clusters, train the trainers in order to be able, after our project, to be able to support their members. Help the second pillar, help the SMEs themselves, how to improve their skills, and the third level, go directly and link them with potential investors. Obviously, we cannot guarantee that they will secure any investments, but at least they will contact the investor and they will sit on the same table. Hopefully, it will be a physical table to talk about their ideas and increasing their opportunities, their chances. I suppose that you all see a small presentation, which of course I will not go through it now, but it will be at your disposal. And if you have any questions about the project, I'm here, of course, to explain. Robert, from my side, this is what I wanted to say. If there is any question, or maybe later, or...
Thank you very much, Jakobos. I'd like to now ask Carlos Rodriguez Villa. Well, Carlos, you have created a company with the investment of different stakeholders. It's a big electricity company like Iberdrola, European funds, etc. Could you please explain a little bit the story of Alga Energy and how it has been all.
Sure. I mean, thank you for having me on behalf of Alga Energy and for the introduction, Robert. This has been a peregrination indeed. I mean, being an entrepreneur is a challenge, but being an entrepreneur in this space is even more challenging, no? Because we have to go through this valley of death that all projects that are innovative or research-based need to go. And it takes a very long period of years where you have no guarantee that you will have something you can market and hence an opportunity to become financially sustainable. So you need to be a little bit crazy to get into this play. No? So towards Alga Energy, we're a biotech company focusing exclusively on microalgae. No? That may sound something very specific, but in reality, microalgae can be applied in a very wide range of sectors, from agriculture to aquaculture, food, feed, pharma, biomaterials, bioremediation, bioenergy, etc. Today, we are a company with 10 subsidiaries around the world and over 1 million customers, but we have gone through that curve as well. We were established in 2007. We didn't start from scratch because the company was firstly created as a vehicle to consolidate the vast existing knowledge in Spain and other countries that had been generated during decades by the universities. But as it happens too often, the research was only at the basic level and was not leaving the researcher's drawer. No? So that the first mission of the company was to, after consolidating the knowledge, start applying it, start developing it, start scaling it up, and developing derived solutions that meet clear needs in different markets. No? Now, normally in this sector, what the companies do is to focus on one of the 60,000 different microalgae species that you have with one technology and one application. For us, that was too risky. So we decided to generate information of what is possible and what made more sense before making that strategic decision. So we have invested our first 8 and 9 years exclusively in research, and for that we have had to go through a lot of funding process. No? It was risky from a cash flow point of view, so to say. We have had all kinds of shareholders, from crowdfunding to business angels, to small family offices, to large corporates such as Repsol or Iberdrola in the energy side, and now more recently Yokogawa, that is a Japanese leading multinational listed in Nikkei, with around 20,000 employees, very, very strong vision on bioeconomy. Of course, and I must say that without the European Commission, we wouldn't have been able to reach this point because we have been very much supported by them. We have 7 R&D projects funded by the European Commission, also some by national governments, etc. So now we have an innovation network of over 150 partners, universities, companies, and research centers that we have signed an agreement of collaborating with them. How we have come to this point? Well, in summary, I think it's with the right team, for sure, based on sound science and technologies, but also with the right shareholders for each stage of the company, and very importantly, leveraging the synergies with partners, because we were experts in microalgae, but not in the fields where microalgae could be applied. So there, the support with the European Commission and the national governments giving us the tools to partner with the other stakeholders has been key. And of course, hard work, passion, and resilience, and an ambitious vision, and the determination to materialize it has been key, of course.
Yes. Can you still hear me? Because it seems I was with.
They're cutting out.
No.
Hello, can you hear me? I should be back now.
Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
All right. So my name is Bill Barber, and I'm a California serial entrepreneur, as Robert mentioned. I'm actually here in Italy, in the northern part of the country, just a few kilometers north of Milan. Because Intesa San Paolo, which is a big bank here in Italy, in fact, it's the biggest bank in the Italian market, has invested over the last 10 years in a program that we developed together in order to support entrepreneurship and innovation across Italy, but also extending across the European community. So with that program, this is the Startup Initiative program. We have a particular group that we focus on, a group of technologies that we focus on, which is essentially life science and bio-based programs and projects. So this is taking innovative projects from all across Europe, most of them coming from Italy because of the nature of the bank that sponsors this program. But we have a focus that's quite diverse. So there's a focus specific on biotechnology, which is drugs, diagnostics, and drug delivery. One, in particular on specifically on digital health. And so we look at a lot of IoT devices. And of course, we do one specific to agriculture and bio-based products or bio-based economy. And with that, the goal is to really look for convergence between technologies. I think, as we all know, there are very few companies on the stock exchange that come from a single technology. Typically, we're looking at mergers and technology collisions that ultimately lead to industrial value. This program is a designed program to take entrepreneurial innovation, force collisions in specific ways. These are with startups, with scale-ups, with projects that are globalizing as part of their life cycle, and looking at how to support those collisions and support the expansion of industrial value. So this is a big program. It's in its 10th year, and with it, we have seen a lot of success stories associated with this kind of collision mentality, and it's more than just life science. This Startup Initiative program goes across energy, goes across automotive, transportation, digital, and others. Ultimately, we're constantly looking for these collision points between technologies as they apply to industry. And so this is a key piece. Looking specifically at bioeconomy, of course, this is interesting from both an investment perspective for a bank. So the bank is a lender. It's quite an enormous lender in the Italian community, and in fact has recognized that looking at bioeconomy and looking at circular economy is a great way to reduce risk. And so in the lending community, the bank has actually allocated specific programs inside of the Intesa Sanpaolo Innovation Center specific to circular economy. And with that can look specifically and deeply at the bioeconomy as well. So with that, they've allocated 5 billion euros for lending programs specifically to support the conversion from the linear economy to the circular economy. And bio-based projects are a big, big part of that. So that's a big program on the lending side. Of course, that's one piece of the puzzle. The other piece is private capital. And so this looks at venture capital and angel financing. These programs are designed to support those investor mindsets, specifically to, once again, reducing risk and optimizing upside for investment, and ultimately providing both economic, social, and environmental returns. So this is a program that has been designed in order to support that, not just the entrepreneurial community, but the investor community as well. In fact, this is one of the core challenges that you have in the banking community as you look at early stage and developing stage technology companies, is that historically banking is designed with the mentality that to reduce risk, you reduce exposure. In other words, you're asking for €1 million, we reduce our risk by reducing our exposure. So if you're asking for $1 million and we think you can pay it back, it would reduce risk to give you less. In other words, you ask for $1 million, we give you 500 because it seems like that reduces risk. But in this early stage and innovation space, as entrepreneurs and as private investors, we recognize that that is not a risk reduction strategy. In fact, for most entrepreneurial projects, the core risk reducing factor is to make sure that you get all of the capital you need to make smart decisions and finish the job. The job isn't finished. If the product never makes it to market, everyone loses everything. So we need to have a structure and strategy that allows us to look at the life cycle financing needs of companies, the development needs of projects, and making sure that those entrepreneurial resources are delivered so that we can reach the finish line and get to a return on investment for all the parties involved, from the planet to the entrepreneurs to the investors. So our programs are designed to reach these goals. The programs are designed to reduce risk and to really leverage all of the different sources of capital, from lending to private capital to customers to grant financing and others, in order to make sure we get that job finished. So this is really the venture development mentality, this idea of taking projects all the way to the market, all the way to delivery. And our programs are designed to meet that. I've moved my family here to Italy from California so that we can work on these things together with large financial partners. I will stop right there. And Robert, back to you if you can hear me.
I think he froze, his connection froze, so let's go to the last one.
Okay. Okay, so good afternoon. I'm Sergio. Hi, Robert. Hi, everybody. To suppose what brings me to this panel is to give you a view of why circular economy is important for a company like us, like Lafarge Holding. We are a company that basically provide solution for construction. We are probably better known as producers of cement, ready mix, but in general, we like to say that we provide solutions for the construction business. And why circular economy is important for us? So we really believe that this economy benefits business, society, and the environment, and while simultaneously eliminate waste and decoupling the development from consumption of finite resources. Our focus in this field is not only bio, because there is a lot of waste that is not only bio waste, but our focus is in resource preservation and efficiency along the value chain. And this chain goes from upstream, and at this point of the chain, we focus in using non-recyclable waste in industrial processes. This is what we do, for instance, in this plant, in the plant where that I manage, where, to give you an idea, from all the thermal energy that we need, 40% of this energy comes from waste. And part of this waste is bio. For instance, 25% of this waste that we are using is biomass. But in some other plants that we have in our country and in some other countries, for Lafarge Holding, we can go above 50% of the energy that we use as thermal energy can be biomass. So this is a huge opportunity of eliminate this waste and giving that waste a second life. We also work in downstream services because we consider it's important to start using the recycle of construction and demolition waste and integrate this product within our solutions that we provide in construction. And also, I would like to give you an idea of how is the balance that we have in this upcycle of waste. So in this plant, for instance, we can say that for every kilo that we produce as waste, we are using or getting out from the landfill 200 kilos of waste. So I think this is an important role that we are having in this circular economy. I think we, in some ways, we go one step further because what we try is not to have just a circular economy, but also regenerative. And we are investing funds in promoting biodiversity in our quarries. So I think what is important is that finance is I mean, in the moment that you have a good project, it's necessary to look for finance. But I think one important step is that this project, it makes sense by itself. I mean, it can provide value and add value to our society. Okay.
Hi, thanks. We had some connections, some problem connections with. We are really sorry about that. It was a pleasure to hear all your experience and these real cases that show up how bioeconomy is flourishing in Europe. Thank you for being part of this AseBio Investor Day. And now we have prepared an interactive session with our colleague from BioVoices.